Have you ever noticed how the same exact hairstyle can be praised on one person and then totally ridiculed on another? Or how a certain beauty choice is called bold and glam for a white celebrity. But when a black, brown, or indigenous person does the same thing, they get labeled fake or ugly. That's not a coincidence. It's a pattern, and it reveals a deep-seated double standard in our society that fuels everyday racism. Today, we're going to break down how this happens. We'll look at specific examples, from hair and cosmetic procedures to other body enhancements. We'll explore the roots of these biased beauty standards and, most importantly, talk about the real-world harm they cause and what we can do to change the conversation. Let's start with hair. Hair extensions and weaves are everywhere. On a white public figure, they're often seen as a fun way to add volume or length. A normal part of getting glammed up for an event, the conversation is about the brand, the stylist, the cost. But when a woman of color, particularly a black woman, wears weaves or extensions, the comments can be so different. Suddenly, the words fake, unnatural, or trying too hard come into play. There is this implication that she's hiding something or isn't comfortable with her real hair. This isn't just a matter of mean comments. For many people of color, hair is deeply tied to identity, history, and even survival. Throughout history, Eurocentric hair norms have been forced upon people in schools and workplaces. Straight, smooth hair was deemed professional, while natural textures like afros, braids, and lokes were labeled unruly or unprofessional. So, for generations, protective styles, weaves, and wigs weren't just a fashion choice. They were a tool for economic access and a way to navigate a world that policed their very appearance. When we dismiss these styles as fake on people of color while celebrating them on white people, we ignore this entire history of survival and resilience. Now, let's talk about facial procedures, specifically lip fillers. The trend of having full, plump lips has exploded in recent years. We see it all over social media, celebrated on countless white influencers and celebrities. They get praised for their perfect pout. But here's the irony. Full lips are a natural feature for many people of color, especially black people who were historically mocked and caricatured for this very trait. Now that it's a trend, the features that were once ridiculed are suddenly desirable, but often only when they appear on white faces. A person of color who gets lip fillers, even subtly, can face criticism for looking unnatural or done. We call it cute on a celebrity but fake on a person of color. That's not just a beauty critique. It's a cultural double standard that co-opts features from marginalized communities, rebrands them, and then praises them only on the dominant group. It sends a message that your features are only acceptable when someone else is wearing them as a costume. This pattern extends to other body enhancements too. Think about body contouring or having a curvier figure. For years, the mainstream ideal was thinness. Women of color, particularly Black and Latina women, who naturally have curvier bodies, were often shamed. But now, the slim, thick aesthetic is in. White women who achieve this look through workouts, procedures, or even just posing are celebrated. Yet, women of color with the same body type are still often hypersexualized or judged. The same goes for tanning. A white person gets a tan, and it's a healthy glow, a sign of a good vacation. But people who are naturally brown are subjected to colorism and racism, where lighter skin is often unfairly valued over darker skin. The praise or shame attached to a certain skin tone seems to depend entirely on who is wearing it and whether it was chosen. This reveals how deep these biases run. It's not about the feature itself, but about who is allowed to have it. So, where does all this come from? The root causes are deep and tangled up in history. Modern Western beauty standards were largely shaped by colonialism and white supremacy, which centered whiteness as the ideal. Everything else was positioned as other, exotic, or less than. The media, from old Hollywood films to today's social media algorithms, has amplified this for decades. It created a narrow, single story of what beauty is supposed to look like. And this gets reinforced in our own communities through something called respectability politics. This is the idea that if marginalized people just conform to mainstream white standards in how they dress, speak, and look, they will be treated better. It's a survival tactic, but it also pressures people to police each other's bodies and choices. Social media makes it all worse. Algorithms are designed to promote content that gets a strong reaction. And unfortunately, shaming and outrage often go viral, amplifying these harmful double standards. And these aren't just abstract ideas. They have serious real-world consequences. This constant policing of bodies has a terrible impact on mental health, leading to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. It shows up in public spaces, where people of color are disproportionately disciplined in schools or scrutinized by law enforcement for their appearance. It creates employment bias. The Crown Act, which aims to ban hair discrimination, wouldn't be necessary if people weren't literally losing jobs over their natural hair, and ultimately, it leads to cultural erasure, where the origins of certain styles and features are stripped away and repackaged for a mainstream white audience. Now, I want to be clear. Not every single critique of a beauty choice is automatically racist. Sometimes, conversations are genuinely about health, safety, or the ethics of cosmetic procedures. It's important to have those discussions, but we have to learn to spot the difference. When you see a clear pattern where the language gets harsher, the criticism gets louder, and the labels fake versus authentic are consistently applied along racial lines, that's not a discussion about health. That's bias in action. Some people might say, this is just about personal taste. But our personal taste isn't formed in a vacuum. It's shaped by the thousands of images we see every day, by who is presented as powerful, desirable, and normal. When the same choice gets wildly different reactions depending on the race of the person, that isn't neutral taste. It's a reflection of a social hierarchy. Others might say, everyone gets criticized on social media. And that's true. The internet can be a harsh place for everyone. But again, look at the patterns. Who is more likely to be called ghetto versus edgy? Who is authentic and who is fake? The language tells the story. So, what can we do? It starts with us. We can change how we talk about each other. We can consciously examine our own reactions. The next time you find yourself having a strong opinion about someone's appearance, ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is my reaction shaped by a genuine concern or by a hidden bias I've absorbed from society? We can also actively work to diversify the images and voices we see. Amplify creators of color who are talking about beauty on their own terms. And most simply, we can just stop policing other people's bodies. Someone's hair, their lips, their body, it's their own.
Their choices don't need your approval or your commentary.
By being more mindful and intentional, we can start to dismantle these harmful double standards, one conversation at a time. If this video made you think, let me know in the comments, and maybe tag a creator of color whose perspective on beauty you really admire. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.